have invited eminent member of our bar, our friend, our colleague, Mr. Firdaus Mirza, who is going to guide us on topic drafting of bail applications. We have requested him, while touching to this issue, drafting of bail application, he can take a further pace and may have some point presentation. What is this point? PowerPoint presentation. PowerPoint presentation. He has prepared this for us, and he is going to use some formats of bail applications, which will be exhibited on this PowerPoint presentation. Mr. Mirza has passed his law from our Nagpur University Law College in 1994. Initially, he joined the chamber of his father at Yavatmal, who is also an eminent lawyer at Yavatmal city. In 2003, Mr. Mirza has shifted at Nagpur, and in little span of time, he has made his benchmark. So in Nagpur city, as a good lawyer, as an eminent lawyer, you all have seen he has appeared in many important matters, constitutional matters, criminal matters, tax matters also. He is a recipient of National Youth Award of 1993, standing counsel for our High Court. Friends, it's really a prestigious thing that when the lawyer is getting to represent the High Court, is one prestigious aspect for his personality. He is a senior standing counsel for Central Excise Department and also senior standing counsel for Supreme Court. The rest you know about him, his appearances and his knowledge and his behavior with our colleagues. Therefore, I may not be required to take much more time on this aspect. Now I request our Joint Secretary, Mr. Bhushan Mohta, to welcome our today's speaker by presenting a Mora bouquet. I now request Mr. Firdaus Mirza to address us on this topic. I request our another member of study circle, Mr. Rosh Nivakar, please come this side. Please come.
थैंक यू पाटिल साहब। आज मुझे अपने ही घर में मेहमान होने का एहसास कराया। डियर फ्रेंड्स, ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर्स, a very good evening to all of you. Now, as you all are aware, the activity of study circle, it is an in-house activity for all of us to sharpen our skills as an advocate. This is a knowledge sharing platform where we always try to share our knowledge with each other. And today's endeavor is one of a small step in the same direction. Now we have taken different topics at different stage, and today I am given responsibility by the committee to just have a talk with you regarding drafting of bail applications. Now, why it was felt that such topic should be taken? So I'll tell you my experience. I migrated to Nagpur in the year 2003. For initial around 4-5 months, I was briefless, as happens with the new lawyers. And the first work which I got was the bail application. And then for several months, I was doing only bail applications. And for the juniors, it is the most important thing to get bail. Because first of all, the clients didn't come to juniors, and if juniors fail in getting the desired relief, then it becomes much more difficult to sustain in high. And while sitting in the courts, those are taking bail applications, we have seen certain juniors having some difficulty in explaining the things to the court. Courts are asking several questions, but answers are not given immediately. So courts are annoying, and because of that, they are losing their good cases. Sometimes the lawyer is having instructions, but that is not mentioned in the application. He is having good case, but still because of the problems in drafting, he is not able to get the desired result. Sometimes the words used by courts to those lawyers who fail to give proper information, that also hurt us. So in order to just give an idea what is expected by the court and how we can make it simpliciter, I am just taking you through the experience and journey, and through my journey, the experience I got. So first of all, when a client comes to you for filing some bail application, what you should do and what I do. First of all, while taking instructions, I verify the credentials of the applicant. Because we have two types of bail applications. One is regular bail, another is anticipatory bail. The person seeking regular bail is obviously behind the bars, so he is not coming to you. But the person who claims to be still yet to be arrested, whether the person coming to you is a genuine person, whether he is the same person, because sometimes personation cases are there and lawyers are in trouble. So first of all, whether he is the same person, if he is not earlier known to you, so you must take his credentials. And now best thing is checking his Aadhaar card or other any identity card, because now it is needed for the affidavit purpose also. So once his identity is proved, then let us go to next stage. In credentials also, his standing in the society is important. But who is he? Because you need to mention in the bail application to make out the case. So credential means he is really the same person. Secondly, who is he? What is he? Then the most important document is first information report. Now what happens? In the hurry of filing the bail application, because first of all we are happy that we got convicted, and there is always hurry to the client, and the clients are in habit of bullying the lawyers, the juniors especially. साहेब आत्ताच पाहिजे, साहेब पोलीसवाले घराच्या बाहेर उभे आहेत, तुम्हाला जमत नसेल तर दुसऱ्याकडे जा. If the client is going to wait for you, then he is your client. If he is just a bird, he may fly. Let him fly. Ask for the copy of FIR. Now the FIRs at most of the places are available online, but sometimes they are not complete. So from where we can get it? There are two sources. One is if our client is resourceful, then police station. Otherwise, from the JMFC. Because any FIR that is registered has to be forwarded within 24 hours. From FIR you can get what are the allegations. Then after getting the, sometimes there are charge sheets are also filed. Then go through the charge sheet. In addition to allegations in the FIR, what is against you or what is in your favor, you can get it from there. Then details of informant or the relevant person instrumental in getting registered the FIR. Just now I am coming from court C by getting one FIR passed. In that case, a public servant was alleged to have committed an offence under SC/ST Prevention of Adversities Act. When after filing of that application we sought detailed information about that informant, then it came to know that the same fellow has got registered similar FIR against the Tehsildar. Then against him several cases of defalcation, then taking money by deceit and blackmailing cases were registered. But after filing of the application we get those news. So we need to file an additional affidavit and brought those cases before the court. Today court passed that FIR on those grounds. So it is very important to take details about the informant and the relevant person. Sometimes the informant is somebody else and someone is behind him, instrumental in getting you, your client become an accused and registration of FIR. So take that information. Thereafter, look, there is a presumption in law that everybody is innocent until proved guilty. Same applies to the client also. And always he is in habit of telling you only one side of his story. So first, just ask regarding his own version. And then you need to cross-examine your own client. Take down his version. Then regarding the allegations in the FIR, you first cross-examine. Because you need to face this cross-examination in the court. So you must be ready with the answers that are your instructions, not your personal knowledge. You don't have any personal. So after understanding the story of your client, then ask for the documents what according to him are available for his defense. Because nowadays we are facing two types of cases mainly. The cases regarding injury to the person or body, and another now white collar crimes are on rise, like cheating cases. Most of the bail applications you see are coming under section 420 mainly. So for that several documents they may have in defense. Thereafter, the sections that are mentioned in the FIR. The police are sometimes in habit of reproducing entire IPC in the FIR. So you need to see whether the allegations in the FIR, whether they attract those sections or not. If they are not being attracted there, so simple for you, because you need to take a paragraph for that. Thereafter, sometimes some special enactments are there, under which the offence is registered. You need to study those acts. Then as I said, 420 cases, there may be some irregularities. That may not be illegalities or offences, but still offences are registered. For that you need to see the rules, GR, circular on that point. Now most of them are available on the website. Sometimes clients are also aware. It shows that that was neither part of their duty or they have not committed any wrong, they followed the law, but something happens. So for creating a defense, understanding the factual subject as well as understanding the law governing that topic is very, very important. Then a difficult part comes, which I feel we all avoid to do, that is research of case law. Not only on India Qanun, but sometimes it is better to visit the book first. And the commentaries, we are having very good commentaries in our library. Because my experience with India Qanun and these softwares are that if I type 420, they give 5,000 pages. How I am going to do? But if I go to the book, the specific case laws I get much faster. What does it mean? This taking instructions part is over. The last line, listing the chronology of events, is according to me is the most important before drafting your plan. Take a pen and paper. Just jot down what instruction you got from your client in chronological. Chronological means regarding the dates, what happened earlier, what happened later. Then we will start drafting the application. So regarding drafting, the important is format. I go to the format first, then we will come back to it. As I said, anticipatory bail and regular bail. We got two. Most of the things are common except some pleadings. So as section 438 comes first, we will take total anticipatory bail. In fact, this word anticipatory you will not find in CRPC. The word is pre-arrest bail. So name of the applicant, his age, occupation, his resident of. Now why this is there? Sometimes we see that he is facing an allegation of siphoning crores of rupees, and in the trial court the lawyer has written occupation as laborer. So the public prosecutor helps you there. Look, he has written laborer, and how he got this much amount. Therefore, take care. No cut test business. Sometimes age also matters. Then details of police station. Which police station is there? What I like while arguing a bail application, that I need not turn any page. From one page only I should be able to argue entire matter and answer all the queries by the court. Sometimes courts are with you, it is ready to pass an order in your favor, it asks, so what was the crime number? Sections, then again, date of offense, then again. So why not have these details on the first page only? Crime number or FIR number, date of FIR, and time. That is the time of registration of FIR, date and time. Date of incident and time. Most of the times our case is regarding delay in registration of FIR. So you can demonstrate from here only that this was the time and date of incident, but the FIR was registered this time. Then sections and act. Details of informant, that is his name. Thereafter comes the first paragraph. Whether in anticipatory bail, the most important thing is you are standing in the society. What are you? Whether he is peace loving, really peace loving, or having 10, 20 cases pending against you. Then livelihood, what is his profession? Whether he is sometimes public servant. Then the most important is whether he is having criminal record. Look, we intend to get interim release. But keep in mind that whenever we are filing any application, petition, appeal in the court, we are not for only interim relief, but we are here to get the final relief. So today you will write you don't have any criminal antecedents, and tomorrow the police will come with the list of cases against you. What will happen? You may be innocent in this case, but because of making a wrong statement, your bail application is going to be thrown. Therefore, you must take care. If you are having criminal record, write it there. Nothing is going to happen. You must state the truth. You may give an explanation in one paragraph that in what circumstances these offences were registered against you. Whether you are acquitted in those cases. But don't write, I don't have criminal antecedents. If you have. Then family. Then in para number 2, I like to mention details of the FIR. First I have given, but here, because this is coming on affidavit, so what is the FIR, where it is registered, and date. And you must annex copy of FIR. So it gives the first side to the court that what is there against. Then there are always allegations against you that are going to come before the court in the reply. So why not to write from your angle in your application? So what are the allegations in the FIR? From your viewpoint, you must write saying that these are allegations against you. So there is no suppression, but still your view is coming. Then you have approached the court. You you have which judge you went to, application was filed, then rejected, then you have to go to appeal. Yes. One thing in anti-disciplinary, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this. The basic principle of anti-disciplinary bail, when you can approach the courts for getting anti-disciplinary bail, in the event you are apprehending the arrest, otherwise not. Maybe offences are registered, but if you are not apprehending the arrest, you cannot approach it. Therefore, you must write in the application that the applicant is preferring this application, apprehending his arrest. You may give instance that police have visited my house, police are searching me, or sometimes notices are given, 160 notices are given. You should mention that how you are apprehending this arrest. You may find several case laws or judgments in these books where the applications for anti-disciplinary bail are rejected because there was no apprehension mentioned in the application. So give details regarding your bail application in the trial court. Then there must be an undertaking to the court that you are ready to cooperate with the investigation. You are ready to give surety. You are not going to tamper with the prosecution witnesses. You are not going to flee away from the justice. This is very important. And you are ready to follow the conditions. Then another declaration that similar application has not been moved before this Honorable Court or the Honorable Supreme Court. If you have moved, give the number. Because there is a custom and several Supreme Court judgments that if an application is rejected by a particular judge or dealt with by that judge earlier and that judge is available, then the application should go before that judge. You must mention. So this was the format, but in between you found several paragraph numbers are left blank. That is the details you have jotted down on the paper, what I call that chronological events and your defense and the documents which are in the defense. Same is the position with the regular bail application, with the addition that you need to mention the date of your arrest in the first format. If the charge sheet is filed, give the details of charge sheet. If after filing of charge sheet the matter is already been sent to Sessions Court, you mention the special case number, Sessions trial number, whatever is there. Sometimes the applications made to the trial court are now not registered as separate applications, they are given exhibit numbers, then give exhibit number also. And then if you go to the prayer clause, don't be shy in mentioning all the details once more. You may feel that this is repetition, but most of the time honorable judges leave this on the responsibility of their stenos to mention the details. So if in your prayer clause there are no details, the stenos they jump along and then speaking 2 minutes and all applications, then your client is behind the bar or he is PQT somewhere else and you get a bad name. So give all details again. So what is the crime number, registered on, police station, district, sections. Again repeat the same while seeking interim. You are just giving 2 lines, not even 1 drop of ink. But please do it, because sometimes in terms of prayer clause B, and there is nothing in prayer clause B, then what you are getting. So you must be careful while drafting your prayer clause. Read twice, no harm. Gradually as we don't have that much there. So most important is that. Then I was on the blank paragraphs. So the blank paragraphs, you need to mention the factual details. What you have taken down. If there is enmity, the enmity is double-edged weapon. You just keep in mind. Sometimes you mention the enmity and it works against you. So you need to be a good judge for yourself that whether to mention this or not. Otherwise, that admission only proves that you have committed that offense against that prima facie. Then, how much defense you need to open at the stage of bail? This is also another question because you are before constitutional court. There are several judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court which says that you need not open your entire defense. Here, you need to show to the court that you are innocent. The allegations in the FIR are not sufficient for your custodial interrogation. Your custodial interrogation is not necessary at this stage. If you are out of the custody, you are not going to tamper with the prosecution witnesses. Because if at this stage you open your defense, what you are going to do in your trial if today High Court is going to negate your defenses? So be careful. Secondly, in addition to the informant, that is the complainant against you, there is one more force, एक और दुश्मन है, that is the police. You open your defense, they will write down something else in the bayan which the original Sakshadar doesn't know, and that comes before the court again, and your defense is what. So be careful with that. So for getting bail, the basic principle is that your custody is not required. You have for all. Then you are innocent. Third is the law is not applicable to you. And fourth, how you take care of your own pleadings. Don't give more admissions. Instead of giving any admission, don't say anything. Let the police prove on you. At this stage, they are going to do it. So after this, we have done one more thing earlier. That is, we have searched for case laws. What is to be done to them? The practice of first filing something and then searching for case laws that suits your case is not good. First, search for the case laws and fit your case in those case laws. The success rate would be higher. Then take some paragraphs from those resolutions that are similar to your case. Add those paragraphs to your case. And while you read those paragraphs from your pleadings, just go across the bar the judgment to the honorable court. Then see the results. So friends, nobody is perfect. We are all students of law. These are just my experiences from the course. Maybe you are having better experiences than me. So this is not an exhaustive list. This is what I found helpful and better in my practice. And I try to follow this. And I hope that it will help you also. If you have some better ideas, you can share them with your friends, with us also. So we can again share with our friends. So this was all regarding drafting of bail from my side. I thank the study circle and especially the coordinator of study circle, Dr. Patil, for giving me this opportunity to meet you all. I take this opportunity again to request him that now the part of drafting is over. You please invite some expert from the practice from criminal side to again enlighten all of us regarding how to argue the bill. Then you no, I am just that would be a better thing that in next episode we get somebody else, some expert, to show how to argue the bill application after this draft.